Morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Just trying to pull up my agenda. One sec. Come
Yeah, my computer decided it needed to reboot this morning, so.
on. Oh. Okay, I think I got it. Hang on. Keeps wanting me to install this stupid thing. Okay, got it. All right. Is everyone here that needs to be here? I see we've got maybe a couple of new people. Do we want to do some introductions at all?
Hi, Debbie, Jason Chan here from the city. I just like to quickly introduce myself. You guys don't mind?
Thank you.
My name is Jason Chan. I'm the manager of Parks Planning, Design, and Construction with the city. This week, I'm just adding in for Todd Rose, our director in Park Services. So just standing in for this one meeting as well as the close.
That's great.
Nice to see everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm Debbie Jablotny, the chairperson for the board. Heather, do you want to introduce yourself?
Heather Larson, vice chair for the board.
Okay. Alice?
Alice Wong, school board trustee.
Andy, I think.
Andy Hobbs, City Council. And just so you know, too, our committee assignments came out yesterday. And so I will be replaced on this committee by Laura Glanders. So, which I think will be good in a way, a bit of a scheduling thing for me with some commitments, but also Laura and Alexa both have children in the school system. And I think my children are about 62 now. So I think it'll be good for the committee too. So it's been fun though, but I thought I'd let you know that personally.
I'm Alexa Liu. You're stuck with me for another term.
Okay. Rick Ryan.
Good morning, everybody. Rick Ryan, Deputy Superintendent.
Okay. And Lloyd.
Hi, I'm the Director of Transportation here at the City of Richmond.
Okay. And Elizabeth.
Good morning, Elizabeth Ayers, General Manager of Community Services.
Okay. And Chris.
Good morning, everyone. Chris Susi, Superintendent, Richmond School District. Thank you.
Keith.
Morning, everyone. I'm Keith Miller. I'm the Director of Recreation and Sports Services with the city.
Okay, and Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Duggan. I'm Acting Manager of Community Social Development here at the city.
Okay, and Dorothy.
Good morning. My name is Dorothy Ho. I'm Program Manager, Social Planning with the city.
Okay, Sonali.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sonali. I'm a manager with the Transportation Department at the city.
Okay, and there was Salualia, but it's Steve, right? Steve or?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Steve Olawalia here with the Richmond Project Team Director.
Okay. And Jane?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jane McMillan, Assistant Superintendent.
Okay. And Ralph?
Good morning, everyone. Director of Instruction, Ravinder Johal, focus on student services and data analytics.
Okay. We've got a Bill Dollywell who's...
Morning. Bill Dollywell. Traffic operations with the city.
Okay, and then we have Tiffany, who is our secretary, and City of Richmond. We don't know. Anyway, yes. So I'll call the meeting to order, and the Richmond Board of Education acknowledges and thanks the First People of the Hunkaminam Language Group, on whose traditional and unceded territories we teach, learn, and live. Adoption of the agenda. Is there anything that we want to add to the agenda? Oh, am I muted? Looks like I'm muted.
Nope.
That's weird because it came up. Oh, It just says mute, but not muted. So is there anything we want to add to the agenda? So looking for a mover and a seconder for the agenda. Alexa and Councillor Liu and Trustee Larson. Stan, so we can adopt approval of the minutes. Looking for another motion for approval of the minutes of September 13th. So Trustee Larson and Trustee Hobbs. Minutes are approved. Standing items, Traffic Safety Advisory Committee. And Sonali, Manager of Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since our last meeting in September, there was one Traffic Safety Advisory meeting that took place. I'll provide some highlights from the meeting minutes. The first one is with respect to Burnett Secondary School to address improper street parking. The installation of delineators have been made on Granville Street in front of the school to discourage vehicles from parking along the curb and blocking traffic and sightlines. City bylaws are also aware of this location and continue targeting ongoing enforcement in the area. Another item from TSAC, it's about the ICBC distracted driving campaign that took place throughout the month of September. And what that was is at 8 outreach events, police and community volunteers used the Think of Me campaign that involves students, and at Cook and Westwind elementary schools, students created illustrations of what driving safely within school zones meant to them. So there were drawings related to kids playing with their friends, drivers getting into crashes due to being on the phone or speeding, and messages to drivers to slow down. And then the volunteers and the police during the Think of Me campaign, they used these messages as positive tickets that helped urge drivers to slow down and pay attention in school zones. And that took place for the month, and they were out at the schools on 8 events during the drop-off and pickup times and engaged with drivers using the messages that the students created. And those are the 2 items to update the committee on today.
Any questions? Councillor Liu.
Thank you for that. Has there been any work with the McMath PAC? Because I know there's been a couple of people who've been concerned and wanting a right in, right out sign at the exit of the school entrance onto Gary Street. And apparently they're worried if someone's going to get hurt there because people are driving erratically. But I'm not sure anything's been done about it, or if any discussions happen with Wisteria, the old folks home across the street, if there needs to be any coordination on that, or if there's any movement at all.
Yeah, I can address that, Sonali. Thank you, Councillor Liu. Absolutely, like our well, actually Bill could speak to this. He spoke to the principal, and they had they sent a proposal in to do 2 lanes, one for right turns, one for left turns. We did look at the accident history of that driveway or that roadway, and there is no accident history. So like the safety issue, like I can understand people feeling like it's very busy for 10 or 15 minutes, but at the end of the day, there aren't any accidents. And ultimately, Gary Street's, it's not an arterial roadway or anything. It's actually a pretty quiet street, except for during drop off and pickup. So, our recommendation was that if, they were worried about folks having to line up too long to make the left turn, that they create a left turn and a right turn bay in the exit for their driveway.
Are there any questions?
So just to follow up on that too, does the school itself have an option to put up a sandwich board during their pickup and drop off and create their own rules that suits them?
Oh, absolutely, Councillor Liu. Like they can certainly do that. Of course, our bylaws staff won't be able to enforce that, but they could certainly use their PAC or their influence with the folks that are dropping and picking off their kids. Certainly, they can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Hobbs. I mean,
yeah, thanks.
Used to be Trustee Hobbs, Councillor Hobbs.
I've been called worse, Debbie, even in the last 2 hours. Yeah, I just want to compliment staff there for their answer, because that is the correct conclusion. I mean, as much as people might be troubled for a few minutes, Gary Street's, a secondary road or a minor road, and it would be an enforcement nightmare for police or bylaw officers to try and enforce that. And you'd end up annoying and alienating your own population because people have places to go. So I just think that's the completely right answer from staff. And if the school wants to have people out there monitoring traffic, that's fine too. There's a couple solutions that were mentioned, but I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, I live off of Gary, and I do try and avoid it at pickup and drop off times, because it's pretty busy getting out of our subdivision as well. So
walk to school.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do see lots of kids that do walk, or bike. Okay, and there's also, a green belt that's really nice to walk through to school. So parents could walk with their kids if they feel like it. It's lovely in there. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions for traffic safety advisory, and thank you for doing something to address Burnett, because Burnett is the crazy spot. So thank you. Okay, childcare update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have just a short update today for you. The city is currently undertaking public engagement in order to develop a new 10-year childcare strategy. There's a Let's Talk Richmond survey that's currently underway, as well as a number of interviews with key partners in the community and some focus groups with particular populations who are wanting to get a little bit more information from. We are happy to have Catherine Jewell from the school district sitting on the advisory committee for this project, and she is or will be circulating some information to all of the schools that hopefully can be sent out to families with regards to the engagement opportunities that are being developed. As a component of this new plan, we will also be including our annual update of the number of childcare spaces per 100 children across the city of Richmond using the new 2020 census data. So it will be an update beyond what we've had in the past 5 years on our old strategy. And we're looking forward to bringing additional information back to this committee in the new year.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, the Joint Richmond School District and City Program Committee, and that's an update from city and school board staff. I'm not sure who's updating on that.
Thank you, Chairperson, Rick Ryan, Deputy Superintendent, and maybe I'll start and then turn it over to Keith Miller. So we met on October 16th as a large group, and really appreciate Surrey staff showing up in force, and always appreciate our time together to talk about how we can support our children and youth in the community. On our side, a couple of highlights. We spoke specifically, Assistant Superintendent McMillan, about the Feeding Futures Fund and how we're getting more, providing more opportunities for students who require support for meal support in schools, and really grateful to the provincial government for the money that they provided this year. I provided an enrollment update, and I'll pause on that one because later in this agenda, I'll give a more fulsome report on enrollment. And with that, maybe what I'll do is turn it over to Keith and see if he has some items that he would like to share. Thank you.
Certainly. Thanks very much, Rick, and thank you, Madam Chair. It was certainly good continued discussion and sharing of various school district and city initiatives to help support children and youth and their families in the community. One highlight that I would like to note is that information has now been sent to all grade 5 students, including those in all public and private schools across the city, about the grade 5 active pass, and promotions have begun now to encourage grade 5 students to pick up their pass and get active this year with free admission to public skating, public swimming, and various drop-in activities at community centers across the city. And the other point to note is that we are developing our meeting schedule for next year following confirmation of the meeting schedule for this committee so that we can ensure that the two are coordinated. That's it for now, and happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Heather, Trustee Larson.
Thank you, Keith. For this active pass with regards skating, swimming, sport, does that include community centers as well? If there's something going on at a community center for somebody who's in grade 5?
Yes, it does. It is specific activities at each of the centers, and so those are identified and usually communicated through the district's or the city's website to promote those specific activities.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So, just curious, why grade 5 and only grade 5?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Great question. One of the reasons that the grade 5 group has been targeted is that it's actually an age at which participation can begin to fall off for various children. So it's an age to target and ensure that children are getting active and developing healthy habits and continuing to stay active within their community and various activities, and be able to encourage that throughout the lifespan.
Okay, and does that include any swimming lessons?
Swimming lessons are not particularly included as a part of this, but public swimming is, and so there are times all throughout the day available at both Water Mania and the Minoru Center for Active Living, 7 days a week that are open to public swimming. Okay, because sometimes parents can't afford it or don't do it, and it's so important to keep kids active and safe in the water. So, and certainly to that end, I'd also highlight our recreation fee subsidy program that is there to support children and youth and families in participating in registered recreation programs, including swim lessons. Okay, and how does a parent access that? Is that widely promoted or publicized? Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The recreation fee subsidy program information can be found on the city's website. Application information is available there, and is certainly the best place to direct people to. Okay, thanks. Because we did have I can't remember the name of it. Now that we have the Feeding Futures, it doesn't cover some of the things that we could cover, and Rav Johal can speak to this with our other program that we had last year, and we do have money left over for that, but just fees to join things for kids is important, and we had that for about a year, and then now it's all gone to a different program. So I'm glad that there is that subsidy program, and that's for all ages, correct? Yes, it is. Perfect. Are there any more questions? Okay. The future, okay, we have future agenda items on here. Are there future agenda items? Does anybody want to speak to that or suggest some future agenda items? And we can certainly, this committee
gets now turned over back to be chaired by the city for January. So, you know, I guess we'll consult with the new reps and put some new agenda items on at that time. So I can't, unless somebody has something to suggest here. And I'm not seeing any. Okay, thank you. Business arising and new business. Safety measures for heavy trucks. From Sonali, the manager of transportation planning. And new mobility.
Yes. Thank you again. This item is related to a staff report that was presented to council in October. It was on staff's review of vehicle technologies like sideguards and also what the city's current safety practices and programs are related to enhancing safety of our city's heavy fleet vehicles, especially around vulnerable road users like cyclists and pedestrians. And I believe as part of the motion received from council, the report was forwarded to the school board for information. I can provide a couple of highlights from staff's findings that were outlined in the report. Related to the city's current approach, what we do is put an emphasis on reducing conflicts through road design and infrastructure projects that are implemented to essentially separate out and protect cyclists from other traffic, including trucks. And this proactively helps implement road upgrades to improve the city streets and uses data to prioritize locations for where these conflicts can arise and to remedy those situations before they occur. The other approach that the city takes with respect to heavy vehicle safety is on operator training. And that's also proven effective and offers considerable safety benefits. The city has for its fleet heavy vehicle driver safety training and assessment, which is a program for staff that are required to drive city vehicles. And staff also engage in partnerships with various industry representatives, including ICBC and RCMP, to administer safe driving campaigns, as you've heard about even in the earlier update that I had regarding the TSAC meeting. And through these infrastructure and education efforts, our records show that there haven't been any related vehicle incidents involving vulnerable road users and the city's heavy trucks. So that was a summary of the report that staff took forward for information in October to council, and you should have it as part of your minutes. And if not, we can certainly get that over to you for further review. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
I don't remember seeing the report. Do any of the trustees remember seeing that report?
I don't think the report actually made it into the package, so maybe we could forward that. Mostly what we want to do is just make sure that the school board was aware of some of the things that we were looking into as a city to try and make sure that we're keeping people safe out on the streets.
Yeah. Well, personally, I ride a bike and I have, had encounters with big trucks and almost been flattened a few times. So I would appreciate reading it. And Alexi, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something else?
Sorry, that's what I had my hand up for. I just wanted to mention that this had come up, I guess, a year ago when that fellow in Vancouver passed away when he got hit by the truck that was turning right in the west side of Vancouver, in downtown Vancouver. So that's where this came up, to try and see if there's something we should be doing here in Richmond or working towards.
Yeah, and trucks, I can't say enough about the safety of, because bikes, have poor visibility with trucks. So it's on the biker and the truck driver, but yeah, it can be really dangerous. And there's a few spots in Richmond that are pretty dicey. So I think that's great that the city is doing the training, and others should get on board too, because with all the overpass accidents, you know, there's a great concern out there. So thank you very much for all you're doing there.
And I'll make sure to get the. Yeah,
that'd be
I
great.
was just going to say, yeah, we'll make sure to get the report that provides more information.
Great, thank you. Okay, if there's no more questions, enrollment update, and that is Mr. Ryan, our Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you again, Chairperson. So maybe just a little bit of background, as folks on this call are likely aware that the Richmond School District had been not so long ago in a process of declining enrollment. And over the course of the last 2 years, as we've emerged from the pandemic, we've seen fairly significant growth, and that trend continued into this year. So if we talk September to September, year over year, the Richmond School District has increased by approximately 1,000 students, and 900 of those students are domestic and 100 of those students are international. And we're grateful that as things have opened back up, that our international growth is moving closer to where it was prior to the pandemic, and in some cases even exceeding that at the elementary level. I'll give you a little bit more information with regards to the district's projections. So we project and build a budget on what we anticipate growth to be, and we exceeded that anticipated growth by 520 domestic students. So that brings in considerable additional resources, financial, and those resources predominantly go to the increased staffing requirements to support those learners. And so this is all a good news story. Where the pressure or where the rub comes is in the city center area. So if you look at those 900 domestic students that we grew September over September, 400 of those students went to 6 elementary schools and 2 secondary schools in the city center area. 300 of those at the elementary level and 100 of those at the secondary level. So it's an ongoing concern for us. We're grateful for the growth and the increases to our staffing complement, but we also have significant concerns about what we're going to do in the city center area. So I'll pause there and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Does anybody have any questions? I just have a comment. I did actually put in a call to the mayor about the urgency of this situation. We are working with the Ministry of Education, and we had an announcement last week of some modular classrooms that have been added to Cook and Brickhouse School. We're waiting, you know, we will need more. And, you know, we're getting kind of desperate for a city center site, and Lansdowne is way too far out in the phases for us. That looks like 10 to 15 years down the road before we would get a school built there. So the crunch on our city center schools is going to continue to it looks like, if the trend continues, and with the amount of towers going up. I was driving through city center the other day. It's going to be significant, and this is not going to go away. So we will be talking more about city center, and we are still looking for a place to put a school. And there's not very many places out there to put a school. So just, you know, making it clear that we're in a dire situation. We do have Dover as a piece of property, and we may be faced with having to build on that site. It's not perfect, and it's on the wrong side of number 2 road. It's not city center proper, but that may be what we'll have to do. Councillor Liu.
It's okay.
Your
I can be
hand.
Alexa. And I know that maybe some of this has been, there's a bit of sticker shock with the number of new housing going in. And I know when Richmond Center was approved, that's over 2,000 units, half of which are going to be family friendly, but it didn't actually trigger anything with the OCP. So our OCP actually does embody the expected growth of what's supposed to happen, right? And if you combine that with our housing needs assessment that we put out on a regular basis, like we put about 3,000 new units come into Richmond every year. So however you want to do your estimations on where the kids are coming from and how that's happening, we're getting 3,000 new units a year, and we're being told by the provincial government that we need to up that. So, you know, in the next year, you're going to see Richmond Center suddenly have 2,000 new units, half of which are family friendly, so 2-bedroom or more, right? Luckily, the Atmosphere site, or unlucky for them, as the case may be, that was 2,500 units right there, right? So there's a lot of units coming in the city center in the quick, and Lansdowne's quite a ways out. So Lansdowne's almost its own beast, but there's quite a bit coming in that city center area, those various different projects, and they're fairly big. Some of them do have affordable housing embedded in them, and so whether or not that means, and some of those do include families too, right? So there will be people coming, and I know just in Westwind we've had 3 extra classrooms of kids come in. So, and it's not even like we've created any density in Westwind. So where these kids have come from, where they've been hiding, who knows? But they're coming from somewhere, and there's obviously the densities happening. So, you know, factoring in the growth that's there, because like I said, it's already embedded in the OCP, this growth. And so that's why we don't necessarily come to you when these do happen. Although I did come to you about the one at Richmond Center because it's close to Cook, and you were going through that seismic upgrade at the time, right? So trying to figure out right sizing that school. And then that whole Spires neighborhood is going to be trying to go higher density rental as well. And so whether they go there, I guess it's Anderson or something they can get to from there. I don't know, but it's definitely going to demand more teachers in Richmond and more space.
But also space. And then when you add modular classrooms, that's to a school, the infrastructure within the school was built for a much smaller population. So it does create some pressures on the school as well. So we're getting desperate. And as you mentioned, more is coming. So any way we can work together to find something in city center would be helpful. Has anybody else got any questions? Just wanted to give you the sense of urgency on our behalf. And seeing nothing else on the enrollment update, SOGI update from Jane McMillan, the Assistant Superintendent, and Rav Johal, the Director of Instruction, Student Services, and Data Analytics.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairperson, for reading Rav Johal's title. It's always a long one, which encompasses a fairly broad scope of information, and he will be sharing with you a little presentation today that provides an update on the work that we do around SOGI as reflected in both our strategic plan and, of course, our SOGI policy, which is an important district policy. So I'll turn that over to Rav Johal to share some information with you.
Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent McMillan, and thank you, Tiffany, for pulling up the slides. So just to give you an overview for this morning, be going over the connection of SOGI to the school district's 38 strategic plan, briefly reviewing policy 106, which is our SOGI policy that's in place here in Richmond, the mandate of the SOGI advisory, as well as an overview of the SOGI advisory subcommittees, as well as current initiatives that are taking place last year, as well as the current school year. So our SOGI work in the school district is very much grounded in strategic priority 2, equity and inclusion. And within that strategic priority, we have 2 significant main goals. Goal 1 being that district learning environments are equitable and inclusive, as well as Goal 2, that the district actively addresses unconscious bias and privilege, systemic discrimination and marginalization based on factors such as ability, color, cultural identity, gender identity, indigeneity, political beliefs, race, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic status. I think it's important as we consider that goal too, in terms of how identities often intersect, and when we're working with students, staff, and parent communities, we have folks who are bringing those multifaceted identities into our schools on a daily basis. In terms of Policy 106, the district philosophy around SOGI came into effect in spring of 2018. Everyone has a sexual orientation and gender identity. It's an inclusive term that applies to everyone, whether they identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, two-spirit, heterosexual, or cisgender. Cisgender meaning that you identify with the same gender that someone was assigned at birth. It's important for our schools to be inclusive and safe spaces for students of all sexual orientations and gender identities. For us, being SOGI inclusive means speaking about it in a way that makes every student feel like they belong, not limiting a person's potential based on their biological sex and how they understand or express their gender, and also welcoming everyone without discrimination regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. The mandate of the SOGI advisory is to support the implementation of Policy 106. The advisory is made of school trustees, School District 38 staff, including representatives from CUPE, the Richmond Teachers Association, Richmond Association of School Administrators, district level staff, as well as external representatives such as city staff and the RCMP. The committee acts in an advisory role and does not have decision-making authority, and the committee meets 4 times during the school year. And the mandate was there expressed on the previous slide. In terms of the specific advisory subcommittees, we have 4 overarching goals, which I'll review shortly, each that has a specific subcommittee. And these subcommittees do meet regularly in between the advisory meetings. So the advisory meetings really serve the purpose of reporting out and sharing updates from the ongoing work of the subcommittees. And these subcommittee meetings are chaired and facilitated by learning services staff, including myself, our district administrator for equity and inclusion, as well as 2 of our district SOGI leads. Goal 1 really focuses on students and staff who identify as LGBTQ2+ will feel safe, supported, valued, and included in their schools and classrooms. So in terms of actions from last school year, district SOGI leads and school-based adult SOGI leads, so the leads who work within the schools, continue to provide opportunities for students to connect. These include rainbow cafes at secondary schools and diversity clubs in elementary settings. And last year, we were very proud to partner with the city to host our first annual Pride Party, which was held on June 14th at the Canby Community Center. And this event was really planned and hosted by a committee of students from a range of secondary schools who had really appreciated the opportunity to have the rainbow cafes that occurred during the school year, but really want to culminate this with a year-end party for our secondary students. In terms of goals for 23-24 school year and specific actions, we do have a SOGI educator resource group. So we have resource planning sessions that are facilitated by one of our district SOGI leads with teams of elementary and secondary educators. These meetings have focused on ensuring that LGBTQ2+ students see themselves represented during classroom discussions and other school activities. They focus on creating professional learning resources, including lesson plans for students, as well as professional development with fellow staff that the SOGI leads can take back to their school settings. The sessions are continuing into this school year as the teams look to increase awareness, understanding, and support teacher facility around SOGI topics. We are going to continue to review the SOGI lead structure, making sure that the leads within the schools are feeling supported and understand their role as a conduit for information and resources that comes from the district. And finally, we also want to continue to increase student voice through the SOGI Youth Advisory. And as our advisory meets 4 times a year, we regularly welcome student representatives to those meetings. And the students often do participate and share, really key insights and suggestions in these meetings. With goal two is focused on staff members in the Richmond School District will have the appropriate knowledge and skills in order to feel confident in effectively supporting LGBTQ2+ students in their classroom and in the school. So last year, some specific actions that took place within this goal included professional learning for School District 38 staff. So sessions that were made available to QP staff, looking at the topic of sports and gender in elementary settings with our principal, vice principal group, as well as encouraging our SOGI leads to attend the provincial SOGI Educator Summit, so they have release time and are able to participate in that opportunity. We also last year hosted the first ever district-wide in-person event in terms of the Rainbow Network event. And this event was open to any employees that identify as LGBTQ2+, or if they identify as an ally or someone who wants to learn more about SOGI. The participants engaged in thoughtful reflection about what brought them to the event, as well as their aspirations for potentially future Rainbow Networking meetings. Actions for this school year continue to be focused on supporting staff inquiry as well as resources. So we have innovation grants that are focused on SOGI themes. So last year we did have staff teams in 5 elementary schools and 2 secondary schools who engaged in the innovation grant process with either direct focus on SOGI related topics or themes of intersectionality related to SOGI. So that is anticipated to continue in this school year. Our SOGI team and this specific subcommittee is looking at adding new books for elementary schools and inviting teacher librarians to an opportunity to explore how resources can support SOGI education in the classroom. Goal 3 is looking at how the Richmond School District will work alongside parents, family members, and members of our community in order to support LGBTQ2+ children and youth. So I think there's an awareness that we have to pay consideration to cultural and language considerations when it comes to SOGI in our schools, recognizing that when the policy first came in place in 2018, that's been over 5 years now. And, it is good to make sure that we're, supporting new staff or new community members that may not have been a part of that process 5 years ago and continue to work with them so that they understand SOGI and the role in our district. In terms of actions last year, the Richmond School District had a contingent that participated in the Pride Parade that really provided our organization an opportunity to collectively celebrate the continued work and growth supporting our diverse student, staff, and community members through Policy 106. As in past years, we'll take that lead again this year, but really participation in the Pride Parade gives members of our broader community a chance to liaise and connect with allies across the Lower Mainland and province. Students, staff, and other community members have always appreciated being involved and the joy it gives them to participate in that parade. In terms of rainbow installations, as outlined in the SOGI policy, the district has a collective responsibility to ensure that every individual is treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, and has the opportunity to fully participate in the life of the community. As a responsibility of the district is also to ensure that school cultures are safe, welcoming, inclusive, and affirming for all students and members of the school community. So Rainbow Crosswalks do demonstrate one commitment as we focus on fostering safe, inclusive learning environments for all students. So we were able to, over the past 2 years, have rainbow installations in 5 schools, in 2 elementary settings and 3 secondary schools. In terms of goal 4, the Richmond School District will communicate effectively amongst students, staff, families, and partner groups about implementation and continued implementation of the SOGI policy. The approaches in the school district are focused on inclusivity and grounded in human rights. All school districts and schools are required to have codes of conduct and anti-bullying policies that address protected grounds of discrimination under the BC Human Rights Code, which includes sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. The district wants to continue to have students see themselves reflected in what they learn, as we do to, with race, ethnicity, religion, so forth. It's also important as a district that we have students understand the impacts of discrimination and improve awareness and understanding of diverse peoples in our society, so that we're a society that promotes acceptance and value. In terms of actions in previous years and last school year, which will continue again this year, we publish 4 times a year a newsletter that is shared with all employees. And this newsletter, titled Ask the Kids, shares school and district updates, resources, as well as tips for incorporating SOGI into regular practice. And actions for this school year are really focused on increasing parent and family member awareness of LGBTQ2+ issues, paying attention to cultural and language considerations as mentioned previously, providing direct support for parents and family members who identify as part of the LGBTQ2+ community, and with goal 4, just continue to ensure that staff are aware of the district SOGI policy and related procedures. So that is the update from the school district around SOGI. And with that, I will pass it back to Chairperson Tobolotny.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. My dogs were barking and baying. You wouldn't have wanted to hear that. There's usually only 2 of them, but today there's 3, and they were pretty loud. Yeah, thank you, Rob, for that fantastic update. I mean, as you can see, our SOGI activities are many, and we're very supportive of our students, and I think it's fantastic. The Pride Parade is just, I would say that's the icing on the cake. It's so heartwarming to see how many people will come out and support our students, and our students just have a great time. I even realized we needed a bubble machine, because I brought bubbles and actually hurt my hand by, shooting the gun so much, but people loved it. So I actually bought a bubble machine for next year, which we can put in the car. But the students just, I think they feel so supported during all those events. And I think the event at Canby was fantastic when I heard about it. So I just wanted to mention, though, that some communities, our community hasn't been as active against SOGI as it was when we adopted the policy. But other communities and other school boards are being, their meetings have been stormed, and they are getting a lot of negative comments from the public. And one in particular, a couple of trustees in particular, who are very supportive of SOGI, have actually had death threats and threats against their children. So resistance is out there, and I think the more we can do to show our kids that they're supported, the better. So this district is doing, I think, a really good job. And I see there's a question from Heather, but also maybe we could hear at some point what the city is doing to support the community. Doesn't have to be an update today, but I'd be curious, and I also invite you to come out to the Pride Parade if councillors would like to join us. It's a fantastic event. Anyway, we'll turn it over to Heather Larson.
Thank you. What I have is comments actually. As Trustee Tebotny mentioned, the events are really special and wonderful. But what I'm most impressed about is what we're doing in the school. We're making sure resources are there. We're making sure people are seen and feel seen, children, staff, whoever, family. I was lucky enough to sit on a subcommittee with Dorothy Joe, and we worked very hard at the very beginning, and we had some really interesting work ahead of us, and we got places with that, and it was wonderful to work alongside the city together, not just alongside, but together with the city, because we learned from each other and how we could best fulfill what we need to do here. So I just wanted to mention that, and what did I have? Yeah, I guess those are the main things, but what we're doing, and I think your presentation really is specific about those things, and it's so important. Again, all those little things that we do every day are what make the difference. So thank you to all the SOGI committee, but particularly the amazing leads that we have on that committee. Is anyway, and nice to see you, Dorothy.
And also, Rev, the Ask the Kids piece. I'm wondering if I haven't seen it in a while, so maybe that could be shared with trustees and the city council members. It might be good for them to read. Would that be okay?
So since our first SOGI advisory meeting, that first edition did come out, so I can share that with the appropriate person who can distribute it to.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't remember seeing it. Maybe we did, but I wouldn't mind looking at it. It's fantastic. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Dorothy Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just thought I'd chime in and say that the city really values its partnership with the school district in supporting the 2S LGBTQI plus community in Richmond. The city has a representative on the SOGI advisory committee and has worked with the school district to share information, identify gaps. And the city also has recognized Pride Week every year. And we offer many programs and services in collaboration with community associations and societies and other community organizations to make the community a more welcoming and inclusive space. And so we could provide an update every year during Pride Week, which is sometime in July of every year, just to share information about what the city is doing.
And I do believe that you have provided an update. It might be interesting to hear about, all the different programs that you have as well. So we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Heather, is your hand still up, or is it? It's okay. So are there any more questions or comments? No? Okay. Our next meeting date, we don't know because it will be hosted by City of Richmond. So we'll stay tuned, and I'm looking for mover and seconder for adjournment for this meeting. I see Heather and Councillor Du. So meetings